people, Deluded, I'm back again. Yeah, man, Arsenal's 0, Manchester City 3, Man City 3, Arsenal 0. We got annihilated. City had to be at probably 30-40% to put it nicely to do just that against Arsenal. Excluding the young players, if you're not one of them young players and your name's not Leno, really and truly you were poor today. Shout out to Martinelli, of course. No one can really leave that field with any credibility. And I called for bravery, tenacity, grit, determination, above all character. None of that was shown today. Appalling. Listen, if we showed all of that, we would have lost 3-0 same way to City, because there's a massive gulf in class between the two. City played this at training ground level. They used it to give Phil Foden some experience against a top 6 side, starting the game and dominating more experienced midfielders than him. A confidence booster. But from an Arsenal perspective, if we went down fighting, if we really were resolute and had 2 banks of 4 and we made City work to break us down and score them goals and really make them tops of world-class players earn their wages, then what could people say? Take nothing away from Manchester City's goals, because, listen, especially the third one, because it actually, it's not Leno's fault, but this is how poor we are. One goal kick can lead to the opposition coming right back at us and scoring. The goal kick, Leno kicked it and they scored from that. That's not his fault. That's just, we're so poor in the transition. Only Arsenal continuously concede goals when we've taken a goal kick or we've been caught in possession high up the field. Leno, for the third goal, it's a long kick from Leno. There's nothing on. Chambers and Socrates are playing appalling. He kicks it long. City are stronger than us, more determined than us. They win the ball back. They play about 20-30 foot passes, people. And I might be exaggerating. Before, obviously, Kevin pops it off. But as great as that goal was constructive, people, if Leno had to kick it and they've literally built from the back, we're not pressing well enough. We're not coordinated in terms of the pressing. Our positioning is poor. We're not following runners. Players are just simply not being proactive to this threat, which is Manchester City. So as much as they scored 3 beautiful goals, we shot ourselves in the foot. The first goal, great play from Gab Jesus to pull it in that dangerous area, but Chambers is cut open. Players are not following runners. Do you get it? Second goal, similar circumstances. Again, players switching off and just terrible defending. As great as City crafted them goals, it was more so because we was terrible. Reviewing the player ratings though, I'm going to give Leno an 8. I could listen. Leno saved Chambers blushes how many times? I couldn't ask more of Leno. Listen, he didn't. There's nothing. I don't think Leno's perfect. I think Leno has his own question marks. But pardon me, the man hasn't had a credible defence or credible defensive partners or been part of any consistent back 5 collectively with the other members of the defensive unit since he's arrived at this club. And yeah, man, obviously as a keeper, you've conceded 3 goals. Your team's been toothless and you've had to probably deal with about 16 to 20 shots. Can you really say you've had a good game? Many people would say no, but listen, at the start of the game, Leno knew what time it was. We knew what time it was. Can I honestly sit here and demand any more of Leno's performance today? I can't. So Leno gets an 8. Sorry, people. Maitland-Niles, he recovered to a slight degree in the second half, so just about gets a 5. But he was on course to get a 4, people. I don't think he was the worst in defence, but he weren't switched on time and time again. That's been the theme. Callum Chambers, I would have started him. Many people will question Lundberg's decision to probably start Socrates ahead of Chambers. But let's be honest, while Chambers hasn't been perfect, he's been one of the better defenders at our club. Not that that's anything to be proud of, because the bar is extremely low, like you lot are seeing. We just have a terrible team, people. There's no way around it. But we're just a terrible team. But by the same logic, you can only deal with what's in front of you. I felt Chambers was appalling today. I felt if we play poor today, I'm looking at Socrates as the only poor one and thought Chambers tried. There was a couple of times Chambers looked poor because Socrates is giving him hospital passes, but Chambers never got going. Cut open for the first goal. Basic passes. It's just terrible defending really from Callum Chambers. So I'm going to give Chambers a 3 to put it nicely. Socrates as well gets a 3. How an experienced player can just be nicking a living at this club, I don't get it. When Socrates walked into this club, people, I was upset with his signing because I thought he wasn't good enough. He made me eat humble pie in his first season because he was playing all right. I thought, alright, cool, I can't be judging man off reputation. He's earned his shot. Now I'm starting to believe I was correct all along because the man's a dud. He's been looking shaky since pre-season. And you lot that have been watching me, you know I've been saying that from pre-season. Is it a coincidence that everybody's equally as terrible, specifically in that centre half, but he's arguably the worst of them all at the moment in time, people. Our best pairing is probably Holding and Chambers, and that's a calamity as well. How experienced individuals can keep playing like this, it's beyond me, people. And maybe Ljungberg didn't help him because he keeps insisting on playing him on the left-hand side. I mean, we're playing in a game against City where we can't keep going long. Like you saw, we went long for one of the goals and it came back to hit us. We need to play out from the back. They struggle to do that, people. You need players that are confident. I'm not saying if we played Luiz, we would have conceded less or won. You don't know Luiz is terrible in his own right. But that's something that he's got in his locker. Granted, he probably would have conceded a penalty, or different circumstances would have led to the same result ultimately. Socrates gets a 3 with Chambers. Kolasinac, I think he gets a 4. He was going forward in that, but I just weren't really convinced in his performance today, so I give him a 4. Guendouzi is another one that's going to get a 3. You lot know me, I'm a big fan of his. Weak in the duels, tackling, passing, just everything. Diving even in the second half. Just was terrible today, really and truly, man. Not following runners, just terrible, man. So he gets a 3. Torreira, I'll give Torreira a 7. I felt he tried. I thought there was some grit. One criticism is actually, we're not coached as a side, so Torreira, like the other midfielders, they confuse actively going to engage with the ball with necessarily good defending. You can defend equally as well holding your position, but that's something we've got to be coached to do, and Ljungberg isn't going to be able to do it. Hell, God himself might not even be able to do this, people. I don't know who can save us, I don't know who can coach us, but I don't think they can be human. But Torreira gets a 7. I'm going to give Pepe a 5, you know. I think he was alright today. He weren't amazing, he frustrated, but I think he gave Mendy problems. We were poor as a team, not to escape him from any constructive criticism, but from when we've got no midfield and we've got a defeative attitude from the minute we've kicked off, how can I expect these players to do anything? I feel in the first half he was a bit switching off a bit defensively, but he quickly got that out of his game. I think he did okay today, so he weren't amazing. It's more a low 5, just about pass mark, but he gets a 5. Ozil's another one that scores a 3. I think the only time Ozil looked good was in the 20-minute passage where, you know, when we was 2-0 down, people, and despite that being that and City having the 3 points in their hand and the vital goals tally, I would, if I can even say dominating. We had the most possession, we was knocking it about, we weren't putting it into threatening areas, but probably from the 20-odd minute to when they scored their 3rd, that was us, people. Do you get it? Or, give or take. But that was the only time Ozil looked convincing, and then you see him throwing his toys at his pram and all of these things, and then it sparks these debates. Well, when it was Ozil, I mean, when it was Xhaka, fans did this, but it's Ozil, so fans ain't gonna do that. I mean, worse than seeing the performances is fans that bang on about players getting scapegoated, fans that want players to get scapegoated, fans that got agendas to push. Just call a spade a spade. Everybody was fucking shit today, people. Pardon my language, but I'm finding myself swear more often than usual talking about Arsenal. Moving on, more positive note, shout out to Martinelli. I'll give Martinelli a 7 as well. I think Martinelli grinded today. I think he tried. He had the one, you know what, an 8. He had the one shot on target. He tried. He got out-muscled a couple times. He didn't let that discourage him. He just doing what fans want to see. He weren't amazing. He didn't show necessarily the Martinelli show, but just seeing players, just seeing someone be up for it. So he gets an 8. Aubameyang gets a 4. There's nothing he could do today. Like, he was poor today, but he had nothing to work with. Beyond that cross in the second half, from Maitland-Niles, where I think Otamendi ultimately won the ball. What was there really for Aubameyang, really? Like, so he gets a 4. We know Aubameyang's strengths are not playing out from the back. I mean, not playing out from the back, because it's not general play. You don't really do that Lacazette stuff. So if you're not, it's not an excuse, it's common sense. If you're not going to be on the front foot, actively try to do these things, then it's useless. You've got to look at these footballers as tools. If you're not gonna bring a paintbrush to drill a hole through a wall, are you, people? It don't make no sense, really. Like, you're going to need the correct tools for the correct capabilities. If you want to play this defeative attitude, then you have to reevaluate your approach. And whatnot. I honestly believe, despite the fact City ultimately scored their goals, we lost this game before we even kicked off, people. I think I've discussed everyone. I'll give Saka a 6 as well. No, I'll give Saka a 7, because he did better than Kolasinac. I was kind of getting fearful for the young players, because I didn't want it to turn into a cricket score. On one hand, these players need to go through these tough lessons because football is harsh. So it could have been beneficial if City did score 5 or 6, so these players can see how harsh it is and how hard it is, but needing to maintain not wanting to run off the field or having to keep playing when you've been battered. You can learn from these negative and positive experiences. Saying that, my own inclination was you want to protect these young players. You don't want it to become demoralised. And especially at 3-0, the way City were looking at it, they could have probably scored more. And you're thinking from a young player's perspective, I thought Pep, maybe if we were as a better side and more of a formidable opponent, Pep would have put more emphasis on attacking our fullbacks. Because I thought to myself, it's an open book. Maitland-Niles is not a natural fullback. Saka can do it, but it's not him. And he's young and he's playing in this context. In another game, potentially City look to put more emphasis on creating 2v1 areas around these two positions and things. But Saka, I'll give him a 6. I'll give Emile Smith-Rowe a 5. I feel he did okay today. I think he did alright when he came on. In fact, a 6. I think he did alright. I think there was some energy. Still shows his inexperience. Plays a bit blinkered. I think he needed to sort out decision-making a bit more. Won some fouls. Ultimately offered some more than Ozil did, to be honest with you, apart from that 20-minute passage I spoke about. Joe Willock weren't on the field long enough. Well, didn't come on the field. Well, he did, sorry, I'm bugging out. But he weren't on the field long enough to get a rating. The only things I can really critique, so I can't give him a rating. Got no blame for Lomberg other than potentially Socrates playing with Chambers. Maybe not bringing on Lacazette in the basis of we're chasing the game. Might as well bring on our striker. But to be honest, the form Lacazette's been and the form the team's been on, I can't really defend anybody's cases. We were terrible today. Is what it is, and it's just another day, another poor performance. But in regards to the player ratings, that's me, people. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. DG.